On this episode of Star Trek Universe, we have some interesting news from Picard's showrunner Terry Matalas, but mostly we'll be catching up on some listener feedback. This episode is really for, from, and about you, and we'll do that right after these words from our mystery sponsors.
Welcome to Star Trek Universe, the podcast where you listen to two friends just do what they've wasted so much of their life doing, talking about Star Trek. My name is Matthew Carroll.
I am David C. Robertson, and I resent the fact that you say it was wasting our time. They're some of the best memories of my life.
Mine too. So, it just depends on what you mean, what your, it clearly is not my actual meaning. I agree with you. It's not a waste. Just thought it was a funny thing to say. So I take it back.
Take it back. All the way back.
It is returned into my lungs from whence it came.
Okay. But I still feel a residue, is all I'm saying.
Okay, well, wipe it off. Moving on. Let's talk about this episode, particularly what other people are writing in about this episode. I'm excited. We finally did it. We did an episode early in the week, right as it dropped, and we had time to collect the feedback and do it as its own episode. A little shorty here where we're just going to talk about feedback instead of like tacking it on at the end and rushing through it. So let's do this.
All right. Well, I did want to get into this news real quick first.
Damn it, Dave. There's no time.
Enigmanaut on Twitter asked, so is Vadic actually a changeling, or does she just have a prosthetic hand made of changeling goo because Odo didn't need a knife to detach bits of himself? And Terry Matalas, showrunner for Picard, says, Vadic and her gang are changeling. She does not have a special hand. But I'm like, why does he need a knife? Or why does she need a knife? That's my question.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
But then Emilio Wysocki responded to Terry and said, so what's with the hand? And why does she look so human when nobody else is looking? Seems like something else is going on. And Terry responded, seems like it.
Well, I think the idea that no one's looking, we've only really seen her on the bridge, and she's got a crew.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming they might not even know she's a changeling.
Well, I mean, if they're all changelings, of course they know she's a changeling.
Oh, the whole crew is changelings?
That's what he said.
Oh, he said her and her gang. I guess I assumed her gang were the people she was talking to. And she said, because remember, the people she's talking to said, your crew doesn't matter. Like, leave behind the ship, leave behind the crew. You're the only one that's important, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I would think that maybe her gang is not her crew. Like, this crew might be like hired mercenaries, or they might be whatever, but her gang might be the people she's like in cahoots with.
Man, we haven't seen anybody else that she's hanging out with, except for those Executioner from X-Men in the 90s style creatures.
Well, no, but we've heard her speaking to someone, and we know she's probably connected to the Saboteur.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's probably like a crew, like a cohort of changelings, as they said, like a separatist group of changelings who's got this enacted this plan.
But I think all of her crew are changelings. That's what I'm guessing based on his response.
That's weird.
It is weird.
Yeah, I don't think that's right. I think he means her gang is like a different group of people.
Well, we'll see. He also retweeted something
because but also like if they said to kill the crew, like, which is what the message said, and I'm not misremembering that, right?
I don't think so.
She said, like, the message said something like, you're the only one that matters. The crew and like, we've seen them before with Odo. Mm-hmm. Like, they only care about changelings. And they really care about changelings. You see how much they worked to get Odo to come back to the link.
Yeah, but if the other changelings don't matter, if she's the only one that matters. And also, we don't know that these are like normal people. These are radicals. So we don't know exactly what their deal is. Sure.
They could have a completely different ideology than the previous changelings we've seen. But I just think this isn't her gang. Whoever her gang is going to be people that we we find out about later, I bet.
My biggest fear is that he is responding to this on Twitter because he's like, I'm never going to actually explain this in the show.
Yeah, that would not
but
be good.
he also, Terry retweeted someone pointing out that Jack Crusher, while in 10 Forward, was making a shape with his red stirring straw. And it's the same shape that we see in the credits, every end credit sequence this season. It's the big square that's like sort of standing up on its end with the line through it. And in the opening credits, or the closing credits as it is, we see like a number of like, looks like almost like a energy waveform going into this like big square with a line through the middle.
Okay.
From tip to tip. And Jack is making that same shape.
Okay.
With his straw. I don't know what it means.
It seems like at the end, we didn't even talk about this, I don't think, on our episode, but at the end of the episode...
We suck.
Yeah, we're terrible. At the end of the episode, didn't Jack's like, seems like he's being controlled by someone, or like he's in some sort of zonked out state, and he like flashes something in his vision, doesn't he? Or am I totally like making that up?
Oh, no. He has some sort of... Like, he's been having these, like, flashbacks to seeing that red door and seeing, like, the whatever it is, explosions and random stuff, but...
Oh, that wasn't the first time we've seen that?
No. Well, I think the first time... I might be wrong. Someone correct me. We'll do another feedback episode. Correct me if I'm wrong. When he goes into that chamber where the gas is leaking... And he like passes out, or he's been attacked by the changeling, and he wakes up briefly, and he sees Seven standing above him. He's seeing all that like black stuff growing on the ceiling, and then he starts having like those red flashbacks of like the red door, and he wants to paint it black, and whatever.
Okay, yeah, no, I do not. So it was all that last episode when he's in the gas chamber, and then this end of this episode. So there's something going on with him. I'm guessing since he felt like it was important to point out that he's making the symbol with the straw. Like, I bet it seems to me like Jack has some sort of like hidden memories or some sort of whatever. Mm-hmm. He's been Ash Tylered or something.
Yeah, something's happening.
Yeah,
for sure.
But that's still doesn't make sense why they needed to find him.
Yeah.
What if the real Jack Crusher was killed years ago, and this has been a changeling all along?
Dude, that'd be dope.
That would be terrible for Picard, who never actually met his son, and just like, this is a changeling all along.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be awful.
I mean, he has memories of going to the bar and listening to Picard and all that crap. So
right.
And it seems like he doesn't know that he's a changeling if he is.
That's what I mean, Ash Tylered.
Yeah.
I
don't know, man. Maybe.
All right. Well, we'll see. You want to get to the feedback?
Yep, that's it. We've got feedback.
Dive in, baby.
Aritra the Gnome on Twitter says, to be honest, I have a hunch about the Discovery cancellation not being exactly what is being said officially. If there's some form of crossover planned, and Paramount would want to keep it a secret a bit longer, since Picard Season 3 is still running and we haven't seen Disco Season 5 yet at all, hiding the production as reshoots for Season 5 would be a way to obfuscate. Season 6 would have had to start production soon. Discovery as we know it is indeed ending, but that doesn't mean it's the end for the characters. And I did press him, and I said, what makes you think this is all happening? And he says, don't set up a giant glowy portal and then don't use it. Granted, they could just have parked whatever was originally planned, but there's an opportunity here, and if you want to avoid spoiling something 2 years ahead of time due to long production... ...
What's the glowing portal?
The glowing portal is that which Vadic and her crew used to send the Titan yesterday's Enterprise style through the portal and out in front of them while they were trying to get away. Also what they used to destroy the Daystrom Institute.
Okay. But how does that relate to Discovery? Or are you saying...
I don't know. I think what he's saying is that he thinks there's going to be a crossover, and they're going to somehow use that portal to get the Discovery crew into the 25th century.
That'd be dope. Especially
It'd be cool.
Brought back some 29th century technology or whatever, or 30th or whatever wherever they are.
32nd.
32nd. All right.
I don't necessarily think it's happening. I'm kind of erring on the side of, Occam's razor, I think the simplest thing is probably what's happening.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think it's probably getting canceled. I don't think that means it's the end for the characters. They could do a movie or two. I mean, they could do a series of things. They could do a spinoff, the Starfleet, Academy thing with Tilly. They could do that. They could do all kinds of stuff. Speaking of spinoffs, I've been thinking more about our idea. We had our episode for like a Worf being part of the Section 31 show.
Mm-hmm.
It's genius because he could be. The thing is,
I know it's genius.
Well, yeah. Well, the thing
we came up with it.
Of course, yeah, of course, our genius level intellects over here. But no, the reason it's genius is because you have a lot of people who ignored Discovery, or they tried it and didn't go back.
Yeah, and
then you'll have a lot of people who are watching Picard and excited to see Worf again, excited to see a legacy character. So you've got these characters they spent 5 seasons setting up, and then the Guardian of Forever, which just ties it all to the original series. Like all this stuff, like tying Discovery tight into canon, and then you put a show on the air with Worf, like hanging out with Michelle Yeoh, who's an Oscar winner. So like, if they could make that happen, then like, even if it's sort of like let's say it's not a serialized of a show, it's more of a like follow a different Section 31 agent on different missions each week or group of weeks, like maybe little sections, little 3-episode arcs, 2-episode arcs, stuff like that. Yeah. Have a Worf
anthology.
Episode. Yeah, anthology with like a Worf episode, a Michelle Yeoh episode, a Raffi episode, like kind of do that thing. So none of these big names like Michael Dorn or Michelle Yeoh have to do every episode, but tie it all together so that like you don't have to pay them as much because they're only doing like 4 episodes a year or whatever, right? But also you're getting the benefit of all these legacy watchers that have been watching Picard following the show because it has Worf in it. But then they have to go back to watch Discovery for 5 years to understand who Michelle Yeoh is. You know what I mean? Like, so suddenly they've got all these people subscribing to Paramount Plus to binge all their other shows. And then, of course, they're going to spin off and watch Strange New Worlds. People that have been ignoring everything but Picard, which I think, based on even just our download numbers, is a thing. Like, our download numbers double for Picard, everything else we do. And it's pretty intense. So, I think that like there's just a lot more people watching Picard. All of our listeners are like, they'll check in every once in a while, but then Picard, everyone's listening because everyone's watching the show.
I don't know that they double from Strange New Worlds. Strange New Worlds have been pretty popular,
right? Sure,
but based on all the other shows, it doubles for Picard for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, so move on to the next thing. I think we answered that.
Oh, yeah. Solidly answered. I don't remember the question. It's so solidly answered, I annihilated the question.
Andre Sparks sends us an email for Picard episode 3 and says it's not a nebula, so it can't be Khan-inspired. Hey, guys, just finished episode 3, and I can't say for sure this is definitely the best season of Picard for sure. Secondly, I can say this definitely wasn't Khan-inspired at all. I felt all the emotions, suspense, and intrigue throughout this episode. Definitely didn't feel that in Wrath of Khan. The Picard-Beverly conversation was perfect. I understood her reasons but still sucked for Picard to not get that choice. The Will-Picard strategy battle was intense. If it wasn't for the slowness of warp and that portal weapon, Picard would have been right. Lastly, the Worf-Raffi scenes were great. You can definitely tell that the threat, Jack, and the Daystrom all have a connection. My question to you both, is there a Dominion War Part 2 in the history of Star Trek? And if not, do you think this season will lead to one? Keep up the good work. Dude, I don't know. Like, if it was in Like, I'm sure there were, like, aftershocks of the Dominion War in extended universe novels.
Sure,
but
yeah.
certainly not on screen.
Yeah, and they've always treated the books with a level of, willingness to throw them out. So as much as I hate that, because I love the books, a lot of books that I grew up on reading, but like, yeah, the canon has never been a slave to the books.
Right, but you know what they did, which was really cool, was I think it was called the Codex Trilogy or something, but they have been keeping pretty tight canon within the books themselves since I think Avatar release, like the DS9 relaunch novels, and they started doing all these relaunch novels for Enterprise and Voyager, etc. And they were keeping really tight canon for the most part, and they had a ton of books. And then, or no, it was Coda, I think. And then they they planned a big trilogy because they knew it was going away from, with Picard, it was going away from that canon. And they planned a big trilogy and did it, where it was like some big universe altering thing where that timeline basically got reset to a certain point, to the point that we can on-screen stuff that we consider canon, but those books matter within its own little pocket universe and actually had an ending.
That was the DS9 stuff that followed?
DS9, TNG, Voyager, all that stuff had like a big end point.
Interesting. No, I hadn't knew that. I knew there was a really popular DS9 Avatar, I think is the first in the series or whatever.
I think so.
They had a big, because I own those two books, Avatar Part 1 and 2, because I think like,
technically,
I'm going to get into that.
Andrew Robinson's A Stitch in Time was the first.
Right. I've just heard that Avatar is the one that like starts the ongoing serialized story that everybody likes.
It does, but Andrew Robinson, who played Garrick, he did the whole book is a letter to Bashir, and it's like Garrick's entire backstory. And they treat that as canon within, it was like DS9 book 29. And it's really hard to find because it's out of print. You can get it digitally for like $1.
Right.
It's like $300 if you look for it online in print. I found it at a thrift store for $2. Yeah, that was actually technically in the canon of that offshoot series. But yes, like Avatar, I believe, was like the official start of it.
Right. Okay, cool. I didn't realize that they had done a reset on that, which is kind of a bummer, but I'm sure it's still a great story. I've heard nothing but great things, but it's a bummer that they did a reset. But I guess it kind of makes it work with what they're doing now anyway. So like it still exists. It's just a little pocket dimension.
Right.
Yep.
And I enjoy that they actually brought it to, they gave them a chance to end it.
Yeah, for sure.
Chris Brown gives us some Picard 304 feedback, says, excellent episode. Here are my thoughts in no particular order. 1, Picard dropping the F-bomb. Doesn't bother me, but I'm sure it will get real Trekkies in a tizzy. Quote unquote real Trekkies. 2, I am glad they were able to escape the nebula on their own without some sort of rescue. I was happy about that lack of Deus Machina. 3, no Worf is a bit disappointing, always, but I thought it was a fantastic episode, and I think if they had done Worf, we would have distracted from what was going on. I don't think it would have felt as claustrophobic as it did. 4, Shaw is an excellent character. I'm glad he didn't die. Agreed. 5, I get that the Battle of Wolf 359 was a very deadly battle for Starfleet, but Picard getting so much shit for it seems a bit harsh. People know how the Borg and assimilation work, right? It's not like Picard just decided to turn against Starfleet. Can't wait to listen to the podcast, Chris. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, agree with all that Chris is saying there. People may know intellectually that it's not someone's fault. But I mean, we see it, today's world. There's still a bunch of assholes in this world. Like, blame the Chinese people for, like, Chinese people in our country.
Yeah.
For COVID happening, They like dehumanize them and hate them. Like, so you can absolutely imagine people, not that it's the right thing to do. Surely there are more evolved people. There are a lot of people. There's people like LaForge who's like, you're an ex-Borg, but I trust you and I call you by your name that you've chosen, even though it's a Borg name, But there's gonna be people, and I love that there's people in this world who think of this like black and white. And also, Sisko had the same problem, literally the same exact problem. Like, he may know intellectually that Picard's like a guy he should respect, but this is the face of the man who killed his wife. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
absolutely,
it works for me. I totally see why people in that battle heard the voice of Picard. It's just hard to get over, you know?
Yes, I agree. I dig it. And I do want to go back to the F-bomb. Yes, it has. Like, I've been on Twitter. I've seen lots of people complaining about it, saying like it doesn't befit a man of his prestige, like it's archaic language. I mean, the F word has been around since what, like 1457, something like that. Like I think it'll survive a few more centuries.
Right.
Also, in the first episode of the Next Generation, Picard tells Riker, I need a personal favor. I want you to make sure that I don't make an ass of myself in front of children. So he said ass. Mm-hmm. Numerous times in the Next Generation, he said merde, which is shit in French.
Yeah.
And we all remember, not good enough, damn it, not good enough.
Yeah.
Picard curses.
And he said, the line must be fucking drawn here.
Yeah. So in that first scene in Encounter at Farpoint, he asks Riker to make sure that he maintains an air of geniality as a captain. I mean, Picard was a wild child, man. I think he cursed plenty. And, you know, it was an emotional moment. He's allowed to drop an F-bomb.
There's not much cursing in Star Trek. There's more as of late. But let me ask you a moment. Mm-hmm. This is one of my favorite questions we ever got on the MCU cast. And it was, if you could add a curse word to any line in the canon, where would you put it? Where's that emotional moment that like you wish they'd have been able to?
I don't know.
I mean,
I really don't.
The line must be drawn here. That whole speech, I feel like that could have used some curse words, but I don't know exactly what.
Maybe in First Contact when Worf was like, "If you were any other man, I would kill you where you stand," and Picard says, "Get off my bridge." Yeah, maybe he should have dropped the F word there.
Yeah, get off my fucking bridge. We're gonna have to put an explicit tag on this
or
episode.
Damn bridge or something.
Yeah. Get
something.
off my damn bridge. Yeah.
Even if he had said, "Get the hell off my bridge," that would have been dope too.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good one. I like that one a lot.
Yeah. I'll go with that.
I like, yeah. I'm just trying to think of good, like, I mean, like, honestly, that first meet, we were just talking about it, but that first meeting of Sisko and Picard, I'm trying to think of times when our characters were really irate. I mean, the death of Tuvix. Tuvix pleading for his life. You know?
I don't know about that one, man.
I'd be cursing at some folks. They're like leading me to my death.
Like, please don't kill me. Oh, son of a bitch.
Well, if you not like that.
No, he just goes like full like Dave Chappelle in Half Baked or whatever it is, like, but not like his proper character, like Sir Smokes a Lot, you know, like, are you there, Lord? Help!
Well, that takes it to a weird place. What do we have up next?
Andre Sparks giving us some feedback on episode 4 of Picard. Said, "Hey guys, the writers are really knocking it out of the park this season. I'll keep this short. The flashback of Jack talking to Picard broke my heart. I really felt for Jack in that moment. Lastly, who did Jack mess around with? Like, I'm starting to think the captain of the enemy ship was a woman he was dating's mom, or he messed with a princess or something. The creepy blob looked like he was wearing a crown. Can't wait to see where this goes. Geordi comes back next week, right? I don't know.
I don't know
Geordi
either.
shows up.
What's it? What is he talking about when he messed around with? I'm forgetting what I even.
Well,
happened.
he's saying that he's talking about that when Vadic cut off her hand, the blob looked like it had a crown. He says.
Oh,
I don't remember seeing a crown.
It did look like it looked like the face was like only partially there. Like,
yeah, it looked like there was some undulation, but I didn't see a crown necessarily.
I didn't either. I just thought it was like Yeah, whatever. Like just the way that
like an artistic fade into the air.
Yeah, that sort of thing. That's what like that was only like half of the head, and it was sort of it came to a tip at the top, which I could see looking like a crown, but I don't think that was it.
Gave me some Zordon vibes.
Yeah, I was confused. It's like I don't remember when he said he got with somebody's daughter. What are they talking about? Because I immediately went to the Outrageous Okana.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, I mean, he kind of reminds me of that character, like what that character could have been. Like, I really like Jack a lot.
Yeah.
I like him so much, and I'm worried because I feel like a brainwashing plot is rare that it goes well. I think Ash Tyler is one example where it went really well. But, like,
Barely.
I like Ash Tyler. I like the plot line. I like the character. It ends in a place where I really like the character a lot.
Yeah, I'm just saying he had some problems from it. There were repercussions.
Oh, no. I'm talking about, like, going well for us. Like, building a character that I care about.
Yeah. I would like to see him come back. I do like him.
Yeah. Like we talk about it all the time with, like, Hawkeye and the Avengers. Like, we finally get a movie with Hawkeye in it, and he's not Hawkeye for most of the movie. You know, it's like, if we get to the end of this story and Jack has not really been Jack, it's like, oh, okay, well then do we know this character at all? Like, I was really excited that them building this character, so if there's something going on kooky with his brain, and like, then he's not really him or something, I'm going to be disappointed.
Yeah. Me too.
Because I like him. I like him a lot.
Me too. Timothy Castillo writes, and the subject is calamari. You guys, after episode 2, I got some bad feels. I was absolutely hating Jack. I did not like Vadic as the villain. I still don't like Rafi's ex. He can lose his head along with the other thugs in that bar as far as I'm concerned. What a jerk. I really did not like that Beverly kept Jack from Picard. I wrote at least 4 diatribe-filled emails that I didn't send because I was just hoping things would turn around. After the explanation of Beverly leaving and how and why Jack stayed away from Picard, I'm sold on these decisions. And the villain is 10 times better than the first impression, though I'll admit, before the other changelings showed up, the oily hair did make me wonder if Vadic might be a single, rogue changeling, not connected with some larger cabal. But this is much better. I'm really looking forward to finding out more of what's up with Rafi and Warp's B story now that the danger of the Nebula encounter is past. After episode 2, I was terrified that the Nebula was going to be the single location through the whole season, like time travel back to basically now LA was for season 2. I am so glad it's not. Yeah. I like the breathing room that many scenes are given in these new Trek series, but I also miss that the storyline of the last 4 episodes could have been told in 1 or 2 episodes in past Trek. There is more pathos, though, and I do appreciate that. It is at least not a wordless half hour of flying through a giant starship, gaping at the scenery, as cool as that might be for some. Hoping this upswing continues. And how about those baby space squids? New life, just like the Genesis planet at the end of Star Trek II. Isn't that great? Don't you love when they call back that movie? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Actually, you know what? I felt like that was more of a callback to Encounter at Farpoint, honestly.
Yeah, they even mention Encounter at Farpoint before it happens. Yeah.
Oh, and he says that this cast is all the Star Trek family I need.
I like it. I really do.
How sweet and sad.
Oh, this cast. I thought...
Yes, this cast.
I thought he meant the cast of the show. Like, this cast is really good. And I was like, I agree. This cast is really good. Like, the cast of the show. Thank you. That's very sweet. Thank you so much.
Actually, you know what? I'm turned around. I think maybe he did mean that.
Yeah. No, I'm unsure.
Now I don't know how the hell to feel.
Well, either way, I either agree with you or I'm honored. Thank you. That's why we start these podcasts. Honestly, this is why we do all the podcasts that I do, is because I was the guy who was sitting there. And honestly, I miss talking to you, Dave. That's like one of the big we used to like just chat for hours about all the shows we were watching, Star Trek being a major one of them, but all the shows really. And then we just got older and just didn't have time.
And Star Trek went away for like 15 years.
Yeah, true. and we just got busy and we're doing different things and just didn't have all that time to like sit around and chat. And so podcasting became my outlet to like chat with friends about. And before I was a podcaster, I was a listener of all these podcasts, and I would like, and I would just listen for hours and hours and hours. And I felt the same way that people that write in like that. Like I'm like, this is like the experience of sitting around with buddies talking about it, but I can't do it all the time. And so I'm glad. Thank you. That's very kind. Basically, that's all I'm saying. That means a lot to me.
If that's what he means.
If that's what he means.
I agree. So from super nice to not so, Willem Gallo writes in and says with the headline "Fake Woke Trek Cast."
Oh, you're right. It's Star Trek. Yeah, you got to get away from woke Star Trek. Oh, you got to get away from it.
No, I think this person is woke and thinks we're fake woke, based on what I'm seeing here.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, whatever. Gatekeepy the other direction.
Yeah. Willem says, I've been listening to you guys for a while now, but I feel like I need to call you out on your reaction to the cancellation of Discovery. This whole time, you've been singing the show's praises and championing the repeated renewals. But as soon as it's canceled, you turn tail and say it's run its course. It's your least favorite. You're happy it's gone. I would have hoped Star Trek fans would be more concerned that the first series with a black female lead and non-binary leads is getting the axe before the standard Trek 7 seasons run. But I guess, like you have said before, in the end, you're just a couple of white dudes after all. Sorry to offend, but I'm very not okay with how you guys treated the subject, and I'll be listening for a response. But I somehow feel like this one won't make it into the episode. Shocker.
All right. What was his name?
Well, Willem Gallo.
Willem. Yeah, no, man. I hear you. I don't harbor any ill will toward Discovery. But, yeah, I just don't think it ever found its full rhythm and mostly balance. Like, I think it's a show that has lacked balance because one of the biggest, hardest things for Star Trek to find in this new era is the balance between serialization and overarching story. And I think that is something that Discovery has been the worst at of all the Star Treks. And so it's real, like, it's just, some of it's like even hard to remember some of the seasons. Even when I like what happens, I look back and I'm like, was that a season? What season was that? And like, did that happen in this century or that century? And
part of that is because it went through several showrunners. It went through Brian Fuller, and then it went through whoever came next, they were abusive, and then they got fired, and they brought in somebody else. It was like, there's been a lot of back and forth with Disco.
Sure.
Honestly.
A lot of the shows have that. And I just think that like 5 years is nothing to sneeze at. I like the show. I've been referencing Ash Tyler on this episode because I like that character. I love the first season of Discovery, especially the half in the Mirror Universe. Like, I think that season's amazing. I love a lot of the characters.
Saru.
Yeah. I like Saru a lot. I like Michael Burnham. I like Book. I like Tilly. I like Killy as well. We've never actually seen Killy, or have we? No, we did, didn't we? We saw like there was a whole episode in the other two episodes in the alternate universe.
I loved that episode.
That was a great episode. They've done some great things on that show, and I love that they have pushed the boundaries for all the different representation that they have with Star Trek. I think that's great.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's my favorite Star Trek. Like, I have criticisms for all the Star Treks, and you know, that one. Like, honestly, as much as I love Picard, and I'm like really loving this season, I think 3 seasons is about to run its course. Like, I think like it really has. Like, I think the show. Like, I'm kind of Picard's story needed a good wrapping up. and like I feel like it's good and wrapped up. Like if it moves on from here, I don't need another old man Picard story.
Right.
You know, maybe down the line, maybe he comes back for an episode or two, whatever. But I'm ready to move on from old man Picard. Like it feels at this point a little. So like it's not that it has anything to do with like. Yeah, I don't know. Your support of a show or how much you like a show doesn't have to have anything to do with the way you're like the representation on that show. Those are like two different things.
I personally was a bit dismayed because, you know, one of the non-binary characters they brought on, they just never came up with anything for that character to do. And they just wrote the character off because they just couldn't figure out what the hell to do with them. Mm-hmm. Like, that was a problem for me. So, you know, I mean, it's true that Disco is my least favorite of the new Trek era. I enjoy it.
Real quick, was that character binary as well?
I don't know. Well, they said he, but
I think he was a he, and he was just attracted to a non-binary character.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty.
But all the headlines said that they were
that
something. They were non-binary, or I don't. Right. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. See, like again, this is not,
and I don't feel comfortable asking. It's like that Seinfeld episode where they think that Elaine's dating a black guy. She's like, he's black? And George keeps going, I don't think we should be talking about this.
Yeah, and this thing, like, we're not perfect by any means.
No.
We try to walk the line as best we can of being loving to people that are different from us. And that's,
which is everybody for me, but you know, I've often said I'm not woke, I'm groggy. I try. I'm trying to wake up.
Yeah, we're trying.
I enjoy Discovery. Yeah. And I've enjoyed it less the last couple of seasons.
See, I don't feel that way. I think the first season where they jumped to the future, I think they've been in the future for 2 seasons, right? Or 3.
I can't keep track.
This is 5. This is 5 coming up. So they were in
5 is coming up.
The first 2 were in the past. The second 2 are in the future. And honestly, I think that's when it really found its legs. Well, see, I love the first season too. I think
the second season is when they found its legs with Pike. So much so that Pike, Spock at number 1 got a spinoff.
Yeah. Oh, well, I think that's a huge boon for the show for sure. Those characters were great.
Yeah.
And they just did a good job of walking the line by keeping those characters kind of who they were, but expanding them enough and bringing them to, you know, a new Trek. And there's lots of representation on Strange New Worlds.
Yes.
Even though the 3 you just named are all, you know, white cisgendered folk.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you know, I'm just saying, you know, I think the first season's departure from traditional Trek aesthetic and some of the overarching ideas, like Michael being Spock's sister we never knew about. I think a lot of that, like, kind of put a lot of old school Trekkies off.
Yeah, I agree.
And then bringing in Pike, Spock at number 1 in season 2 really helped them get their legs.
Yeah.
But then once they went to the future, you know, we had this notion that they were going to be like exploring what happened to everybody else, all the other species that we know and love from the original Star Trek, and they haven't really done that. They've instead been sort of chasing the galaxy ender of the season. And, you know,
it's a good point.
You know, there's a lot of, I think it's run its course. Like,
I love a lot of the future stuff. I love the reestablishing of the Federation. And I think what you're talking about is you want to know what happened to the Cardassians. You want to know what happened to and, you know, we see some of these races in the background. We see some of them showing up as like, you know, like part Cardassian. I think that one character, the Starfleet, wasn't the Starfleet, like Chancellor or whatever, President?
Yeah, she looks like she's Cardassian Bajoran.
Yeah. So like,
some mixture.
Like they do things like that, but then they don't go back and tell us the history of those worlds. But like the thing is, if they do that, they kind of ruin the ability to tell 25th century stories.
Right, they do.
That's the problem with all these different prequel, sequel, jumping in time. If they just continue doing what they did with Next Generation, if they just like moved forward, just move forward a little bit. And they kind of did with Picard. They jumped forward 30 years or 40 years, whatever they did. and they're moving incrementally forward now, and that's what I think that's what they got to do, because Star Trek's about the future, and I think them trying to tie everything to the past has been a big problem. And as much as I like Pike, because they did a great job casting, they did a great job writing for that character, I think that hampered Discovery finding its own voice. It wasn't until it got to the future that it like found its voice, I think.
Yeah. But no, I absolutely in favor of inclusion. I imagine, but that's the trend that'll be continuing in future Trek. But I love the way British TV is structured. I would much rather there be a series that ends a little early for me, with time to wrap stories, than drag on for several years.
Yeah.
And we're all just welcome. I don't need 7 years. And by the way, standard Star Trek is not standard 7 years. There were 3 series that did that.
Yeah,
that did 7 years.
Yeah,
Enterprise was not 7 years. Original series was not 7 years.
There were 3 in a row, and so that sort of set a standard. The original series is 3, and there were 3 in a row. So I think that set a standard, and it was always felt that like Enterprise got cut short, which it did. They weren't planning to end it. But I mean that they don't that sets the like you've got what is that? 60% of Star Trek has 7 seasons. That's definitely not an all thing. And I think like right now we've got so many shows that I just don't think we're going to get 7 seasons of everything. I think they're going to rotate them faster, and they're going to do more limited series and things like that.
Yeah, more overarching stories, less episodes, less filler episodes. Keep it fresh.
Another issue is COVID hit for Discovery, so I don't know how their contracts are all structured, like how many years they're signed up for and all those sorts of things. But like a lot of people, a lot of times they'll structure the contracts for a certain number of years, and they'll let them renegotiate for like that 7th year or whatever, and like they might already just have been there. They might have like a lot of contracts might be running out. It might be a money thing. Like it's
I believe DS9 had it where like people renegotiated after the 6th season.
Right. I think that happens on a lot of shows, and they let them do one more where everybody gets paid big, and the corporation doesn't make as much money because they pay the actors really well in the final season. That happens a lot, but that clearly doesn't always happen.
Yeah, 5 years is. I mean, even at 10 episodes, 14 episodes a season is not anything to.
But Buffy also had 7 seasons, so. That is the normal season for good television. Normal number of seasons for good television. I'm just teasing. Sorry you feel that way, Willem. I don't know. I would say just saying how we feel about the shows we like. There's not a Star Trek show I don't like, but there's clearly stuff I like better than others, and like I'm always here to enjoy it and like ride along with it.
From time to time, we give shit to all of them.
Yeah,
honestly,
for sure.
And I think Picard ending on season 3 is perfect.
Yeah, I don't think it needs any more. And I mean, it's a little different with that one because that was their choice. They said it was going to be 3 from the beginning. But like, I wouldn't have wanted 7 for sure.
Right.
I'd take it, I'd watch it, and I'd probably still sing its praises and like be here excitedly talking about it every week. But in the end, I think 3 is probably better for the show.
Yeah, I think so. Stuart Little, to wrap us up.
Stu
sends us an email titled, "'Cause this my federation of whatever." I don't know what it means.
My United States of whatever. That song? No?
I don't know it.
It's a song.
Oh. I'm behind the times.
It's an old one.
I spent so much time in the future, I don't even know what's happening now. Stu says, "Hey guys, really getting their money's worth out of that 10 forward set I see. It's a beloved place." Picard loves that place. He says, "I gotta say, as well as Frakes' acting it, Riker's arc feels like something that should have been handled 2 seasons ago, but wasn't, because he was only in a few episodes." Yeah, maybe. The question of Picard's hair is a bit all over the place. What with him having it as a younger guy in the events of Tapestry, and in flashbacks to when Jack Crusher Sr. died, but being bald in the younger photo of him in Nemesis. Maybe this is all a side effect of time being broken in season 2. or he could have just shaved his head for a little while. Maybe he lost a bet. He seems like the kind of guy who would have lost a bet.
Yeah. It is really funny they made him bald in that shot, because it's clearly just for like, the audience is too dumb to know which one's Picard. Let's make him bald in this picture.
Never mind that it was literally the only person in the picture.
Oh, was it? I thought it was a couple people together.
Yeah. I would say he lost a bet. He shaved his head.
Yeah.
It's okay. Stu continues, whatever should be Shaw's, make it so.
Absolutely.
Course laid in, sir. Whatever. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah. Quote, being on the outside suits me fine. Sorry, Jack. You're a Trek legacy character. There's an 85% chance you'll be joining Starfleet Academy sometime soon, especially since you're only 23 or 24. It seems like he lives a hard life, Look at 23, 24-year-olds, after the Depression.
Especially when they need to get back to their bucket, Yeah,
man. I wonder if Space Babies was the original title for Prodigy.
That came out of nowhere.
I feel like it did, yeah. Can't believe they let Shaw handle heavy machinery while stoned. Why not? He was their only option.
I wouldn't call it heavy machinery. He's moving like isolinear chips or whatever.
Yeah. He's like swapping out some isolinear chips and he's got an Apple Pencil.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's not like driving a forklift. I mean, sure, It means the whole ship will die if he does it wrong. So your point is taken.
Yeah, right. He's just driving a tractor beam.
Nice.
Can't believe is turning life support off for a minute really that dramatic? Shouldn't there still be enough air for a while remaining? Funny how they never turn off the artificial gravity when they need extra power. Well, I mean, if they turn off the artificial gravity, they're not going to get anything done. They're just going to be floating around. We remember that's how, the saboteurs crippled the Klingon ship in Star Trek VI. Mm-hmm. And so that they could single-handedly, or I guess, four-handedly, beam over and kill all of the Klingons as they were floating. But turning off life support's always been that dramatic on Star Trek. I see no reason to break that tradition.
Yeah. They just do whatever's convenient for the plot. Because there's definitely episodes where, there's this much air left. You know what I mean? They don't turn off life support and then the air is just gone. But sometimes it is. So.
Yeah. Stu continues, it is kind of funny how in the flashback Picard owns Jack with his comeback to the question and gets applauded for it. I wonder if he was ironically thinking of saying, I banged your mom too at the time.
It feels like the American Dad version of him or whatever.
Yeah.
Is it American Dad that he's on sometimes?
He's on American Dad. And sometimes he shows up on Family Guy, but not as that character.
Okay.
Lots of red in that Vision Jackhead. Red matter related, perhaps? Either that or the Anti-Monitor is the big bad this season. Wow, pulling in a DC reference. Kind of a deep one, too. Red matter. Maybe, I guess. I doubt they're going to be that on the nose with it. He says, anyway, a good episode, and mostly one doing its own thing, though still had to get the Wrath of Khan reference in with the title. Take care, guys. Thank you, Stu.
Yeah, thanks, Stu.
I don't know what to say about the red door, man. I'm sorry. I already made my joke about he sees the red door and wants to paint it black.
Yeah. I got nothing. I need to go back and rewatch, because, I remember he had some sort of episode at the end, and he was in a mirror, right? He was sitting in a mirror at the end. I thought so. I don't remember. I think so, because I remember thinking it was like Stamets in Discovery. Oh, he's having something going on with his brain. Something's connecting to somebody, or being controlled by somebody.
Yeah, if this connected to that, I'll only believe it if he like falls down after a vision and goes, "Ow, my celial."
Gross. That pun was gross. Man, I can't wait for this episode. This new episode. You know, like I really can't. Like I'm just pumped for it. Really, really pumped for it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I'm excited.
Yeah. And I really don't want to be the guy who just gets excited for like Legacy Trek, you know. But I do get really excited for this show. It just seems like, well, and I haven't been this excited for all of the Picard seasons even. It's just like they're doing a really good job this season. Someone said it a minute ago, but the writing's just been killer.
It has been. Yeah, I agree. There's like my normal level of excitement that I get for like, you know, most new Trek. And so far that's really just Lower Decks and Prodigy.
Yeah.
But then like I have been, and to be honest, like the first 2 seasons of Picard, but this season has been super good.
Yeah, I agreed.
And I think a lot of that is just like, you know, I mean, not only has it been good, there's like the promise of more Dominion War stuff, the promise of, you know, more DS9 related stuff, seeing Worf back.
Yeah, for sure. Getting many things we've just talked about or wanted forever. But also there's this like, I've said it over and over, but I think one of the biggest problems is the way that Star Trek's serialization, it was such a episodic show from its inception. It's really struggled to find its footing doing something totally different, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like DS9 was like a pioneer of serialized storytelling on television. It still was very episodic, but it had these big overarching things that were happening, you know? And it was a pioneer of it. And then they pulled back for the next 2 series, you know? Like, I mean, Enterprise has a lot more overarching things than other Trek, but but then they just left the marketplace for like 30 years or whatever. Haven't been that long.
No,
it's like 10 years, 15. How long was it between?
They ended in 2005. Enterprise.
Okay,
did.
So almost 20
and
years.
What was Discovery? 2016.
Oh yeah, that's true. Discovery came back a lot sooner than now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, 11 years off the air. It just seems like the market moved on to a completely different model of television where, you know, it was the serialization is everything. Every drama is a serialized show and it's all binge worthy, you know? And like Star Trek has had a hard time finding its identity. And I think what Picard is doing right now with having, like, it feels like this first 4 episodes was one episode. You know what I mean? Like someone said, this could have been covered in 1 or 2 episodes. Yes. The things that happened could have, but we got multiple episodes of like really good, fulfilling story in each episode that has built this 4-episode arc, you know, and now they're free of the nebula. Yeah. Like, this has been some of the best balance of that I've seen from Trek lately, and I'm excited that hopefully they'll learn the lessons of this show.
So I was gonna make a joke, and I still could, I guess.
Yeah,
they should do a spinoff with Jack Crusher teaming up with Worf and call it Red Worf.
Yep.
But then I got really sidetracked because you were talking about that mirror, and I was like, what if Jack Crusher was the mirror Jack Crusher?
Oh, man.
We never had a mirror episode of The Next Generation. And you best believe Terry Matalas knows that shit.
Yeah.
But what if some of the recurring familiar faces from DS9 are like the Mirror Universe versions? What if they actually have to go to the Mirror Universe? If they're teasing a mirror,
I don't know, man.
Kind of feeling like that's what they're doing.
Maybe, but mirrors are like used as
reflection.
Well,
yada,
it's used as shorthand for someone when they're alone. And like it gives them a chance to do cool mirror shots with the camera and stuff, and they just like do it all the time. It's just someone looking in the mirror, and then they have a realization, like, it's a common used tactic. Not to say it's not. It could be. It could be something mirror universe related. But I just rewatched that red scene, and it's like there's like industrial waste type stuff going on. There's like smokestacks, and there's like
sounds like the mirror universe,
explosions, and like showing all kinds of weird stuff. And then it shows that red door. But what is the red door? I don't know, man. I do not know. But I'm excited to know and to find out. And we're so close. It's Tuesday.
They could totally use that portal device probably to get to the other universe.
Yeah. It's interesting. The whole teleporting an entire ship thing. Because once you have teleportation, we've seen how many ways they've used the transporters to like, we're in a different whatever. Like you can go across time, you can go across universes, you can go across all kinds of things. But what if you use it to go... what if there's a mistake in we get that Thomas Riker episode, but an entire Titan A is copied,
Look, here's a good point. Stu had messaged me individually a few days ago and pointed out that the lighting on the Titan looked a lot like the lighting on the Enterprise in yesterday's Enterprise, and that may have been, he suggested that may have been an actual reference to yesterday's Enterprise because of the portal device and how much it looked like the Enterprise C going through the portal back in time and forward in time, causing the problems with the alternate timeline. What if this isn't the mirror universe, but that alternate future that they erased? What if somebody or somewhere that actually still happened, because within a multiverse, everything is 100% probable. So there has to be that version of the universe still existing somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
What if it's from that instead of necessarily the mirror universe? What if they're just completely like referencing the yesterday's Enterprise alternate present?
I mean, referencing it, or are you saying this could be it?
Referencing it, and then also leading up to
some sort of crossover with it,
bringing it in, like having possibly some refugee from that reality. Hell, maybe even Tasha Yar's daughter.
Right? Yeah, I'm not saying that it couldn't be, but I do think that I feel like it's a bit of a niche episode to base the final season of Picard on. Not that it's
not a niche episode. It is one of the most popular TNG episodes ever.
I mean, yeah, it is.
And it was written by Ronald Moore.
Yeah.
We never saw Tasha Yar's dead body. Alternate Enterprise, yesterday's Enterprise Tasha Yar. Selah later said she died. Before she died, okay, we never saw it. So she might have actually faked her death to get away from that Romulan prick. And then, she might be blaming them for the death of her of Selah or something. Like, right. God, who knows?
Yeah, they could. I feel like it would be, a little out of nowhere. But maybe.
I don't know that it's out of nowhere, given the references to yesterday's Enterprise. if that's what they are,
right? That's what I'm saying. I don't see there's any clear references yet, but. They could be, and if they are, then you guys will feel like geniuses.
Oh my God! If Selah is coming for Picard's son because she feels like something Picard did, maybe with the Romulans, caused Selah to get killed. So if she's coming for Picard's son because of what he may or may not have done that caused her daughter to get shellacked. Which we never got an end to Selah's story either. Right. So
and that's the thing is a lot of the Romulans died after Picard was trying to lead. It could be that him abandoning his posts and not helping them. That could definitely have caused Selah's death. And yeah, an older Tasha Yar could be after him. That'd be rad.
That'd be dope, man. now it's like the floodgates are open. All these theories of things that they're not going to do that I'm going to be disappointed that they're not doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, sorry.
No,
I'm sorry,
it's fine.
Matt.
I think it's not an episode that is resonant with me. It's not one that I like attached to as much as you do. Partially because I didn't grow up on the original series as much as you did. So like yesterday's Enterprise, seeing all the older tech and stuff, like I don't know, doesn't resonate with me like it does you. And so like you grew up on that episode.
I don't think it's just me.
Oh, I agree. It's not just you, but I do think it's like when I don't know. I guess, and it may just be the Star Trek circles I run in.
Yeah,
but like,
do you
I don't
remember in the 90s?
Like, I legitimately didn't even remember the Sayla storyline hardly. When I went back to do a rewatch, I was like, "Oh yeah, all this stuff." You know what I mean? Like, I don't hear people talk about the Sayla stuff until we were talking about it for some reason a couple of years ago on the cast, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that stuff."
Yeah, that was one of the things I remembered most was like alternate Tasha from yesterday's Enterprise having a child with a Romulan.
Yeah.
And then, but look, years and years ago, right before Next Generation ended, they did a special called Journey's End, and they did like a top 10 episodes of Next Generation. And Best of Both Worlds, of course, won, but yesterday's Enterprise was right up there.
Yeah.
Like, it is like one of the most talked about Next Generation episodes that I see still on Twitter, people still talking about yesterday's Enterprise. Like, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
I think it's a very beloved episode, and I believe Terry Matalas might do something with it. Also, and I talked about this a couple episodes ago, Denise Crosby complaining on Twitter that she wasn't invited to the premiere.
Right.
I'm like, you're a red herring.
What I mean, I should unravel what I said. Because I said niche, and I don't mean it's a bad episode or like, I kind of mean it's complicated. Like what happened in those episodes is complicated.
Oh, I thought you meant like Avril Lavigne.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. No, like the idea of like, I think that like it's multiple episodes too. It's like yesterday's Enterprise, and then it's other episodes with Sayla later, and like all this stuff, right?
Yeah, there's yesterday's Enterprise, and I can't remember all of them. I know that she was in Unification parts 1 and 2.
Right. It feels like at least for me, even like I'd need to go rewatch those episodes to like remember all the like idiosyncrasies of it, and I feel like they're gonna want to do something that's a little like broader. I think it, like just because. It's like the Changelings. Like, bringing in the Changelings is perfect. Like, we all remember the Changelings. You don't have to know the whole Dominion War to know the Changelings were kind of the baddies. You know what I mean?
I would argue that more people would remember Sayla than they remembered anything from DS9, because way less people watched DS9 than they did TNG. TNG was like universally watched. Like people who hated me for being a Star Trek fan in school, who would beat me up for it, watched Next Generation because admittedly that shit was cool.
Well, I agree. More people watched it. Like my parents watched it, but they couldn't talk to you right now about yesterday's Enterprise. But I feel like DS9 fans are like DS9 stans, like because of its overarching nature. Like, yes, TNG had a much broader audience, but I would say that DS9 had like a deeper audience.
Maybe, but I would also say that like I think Terry Matalas, dude, did you know he started as like a page on Voyager on Jerry Ryan's first season?
No, that's fun.
Yeah, like that's what he was doing, and they apparently she was just on a talk show talking about how like they were both the new kids on the block, and they became good friends. And she's like, and now years later, he's my showrunner.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
But that he's such a Star Trek fan, and he's such a dyed in the wool fan. I'm not sure he knows what's niche and not like.
Sure. And I'm not saying it won't. I just it doesn't seem to be singing that it's that to me. But these references don't seem like specific enough to be like, for me to feel on board is all I'm saying.
Oh, I'm not trying to sell you necessarily on anything that they're definitely doing anything. I don't know. Like, I have hopes and, what I think are cool ideas, but.
Yeah, man. Me too.
It could go a lot of ways.
Yes, it could. Yes, it could. Well, man, we thought we'd hop on here and go quick. We have done a full-on episode, which is great. I hope everybody enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And we'll hope you guys come back. We're going to be talking about, we're going to do our 2 a.m. watch of Picard this week and get our episode out as quick as we can. So we'll talk to you guys then. Jolon True.
Live long and polish your pewter.
Thank you for listening to the Star Trek Universe Podcast, a Stranded Panda production. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Robertson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv for his web videos. If you'd like to hear more from Matthew Carroll, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or listen to his music. Just search for Matthew Carroll anywhere you get music.